Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to our live stream on this Sunday evening. We're discussing the 13th Winter 2019-2020 update at gasworthies.com. So it was an epic 13th update, of course. It's a final update as well of this season of updates. We've got a season one roundup to do on Saturday where we'll get all of the long range models together. But in terms of the winter updates, that's it. We've done with those, and we've just got the season one roundup to do on Saturday, as I say, and then we'll release the forecast itself. Winter 2019-2020 forecast will be released at Gasworthies on Sunday next week, the 1st of December. Sorry, I'm a bit flummoxed. The Streamlabs software did an update a few minutes ago again, so that's thrown me a little bit. But I think we're broadcasting okay. I think the live stream is okay. Hopefully, you can all hear me okay. So let me know, please, through the chat that you can hear me. I see we've got some people with us already. So yes, we've got funniest comment in first, so congratulations for being first, funniest comment, and thanks for tuning in to our live stream on this Sunday evening. We've also got iTech Talk with us saying hi, hello Gavin. So hi iTech, thanks for tuning in on this Sunday evening. Shiram is with us as well, so good evening Shiram, thank you so much for tuning in. So we've also got Jack Gerard with us as well. So good evening, Jack. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Chairwood is with us as well. So good evening, Chairwood, and thanks for tuning in to our live stream. I'll go through the chat in a few moments. So yes, the 13th update. What did we think about that then? It was a real epic of an update. It had at the start, we began that update with 110 open tabs. So that is clearly a record. I mean, usually you have around 60, 70, 80. I don't think we've ever gone much above 80. So we had 110 tabs at the start of that video, and I managed to bring it in at 1 hour 17 minutes, which I know is very long, but I thought that was quite good actually, given that we had so many open tabs. A true analogs special as well, looking at November data and also wet autumn as well. So we looked at the Central England temperature for this November, what we think it's going to be anyway. The only problem with this is that we're projecting, of course, where we think the data is going to come out for this November. So we're not sure completely where the CT will finish up. We think it's going to be somewhere between 6.0 and 6.5, but it could be a little bit up or down from that. I wouldn't totally rule out like 5.9 if we was to get a really big downwards correction at the end of the month from the UK Met. So that would throw things out a little bit. But we think it's going to be somewhere around 6.0 to 6.5. We think we're going to have a top 25 wettest November, but again, we're not totally certain about that. We are pretty confident the autumn itself, September, October, November, will come out as a top 20 or top 25 wettest autumn. So quite confident in that. But the November stuff, there is a little bit of uncertainty about that. But say if we're like a couple of tenths of a degree above or below 6.0 or 6.5, it shouldn't make all that much difference really to the overall analogues package. So the September data, I think, was pointing us towards possibly a very unsettled, possibly a very wet winter, not necessarily overly cold. And then, of course, we have that rainfall data, both in terms of wet Novembers and also wet autumns. And that rainfall data was very strongly pointing us towards a cold winter, especially January, February, March. All of those 3 months had a very, very strong northern blocking signal. So this will form part of the winter forecast, of course, but there are all the other things that I've been looking at over the course of these winter updates. It's going to be really interesting, I think, when we bring it all together and we see which what are the leading analog years for this season of winter updates, which years have been cropping up over and over again through the through the updates. It will be quite interesting, I think, to see when we come to issue the forecast next week. So anyway, what did you think to that winter update? 110 tabs, brought it in at 1 hour 17 minutes. I thought that was pretty good going, I have to say. So I'll go through the chat just to say that I'm going to pick out as many of your comments as I can. Obviously, I may not be able to get everybody's comments in. These live streams have proved to be very, very popular over the past few weeks, so particularly in the last couple of weeks, really taken off with the messages that we're getting. So I might not be able to get through everybody's questions and messages, but I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. Super chat is enabled for this live stream, so if there's something that you desperately want to be answered, then that's the way to do it. You can super chat and your question will be highlighted to me. Otherwise, you just go through the chat and pick out as many questions as I can. We've got 67 people with us already, so hello and thank you so much everybody for tuning in. In around 10-15 minutes, we're going to have a look at the GFS run. It's just finishing updating as we're talking, so in around 15 minutes or so we'll have a look at the GFS and see what that's showing. I know last week some of you were unable to view the charts at Weather Central all that well. But I'll pull the resolution out a little bit, so hopefully you'll be able to see it better this week. If you're wondering about Christmas update, by the way, that's going to be released at 7 o'clock this evening. We'll have the 10th Christmas update. Such a busy day, such a busy time of the year, but I hope you're all enjoying the updates and the videos and everything else that we're doing. Right, let's see if we can pick out a few more of your questions and comments. So we've got global weather updates with us saying, hey Gav, check out the latest GFS run. Yes, Grow Weather Updates. Going to have a look at that in around 10 or 15 minutes time, and we'll see exactly what it's showing. I haven't really looked at a great deal of data since first thing this morning, so I don't know what the models are showing at the moment in terms of the 6 o'clock run earlier on and now the midday runs. So it'll be interesting to see where that's gone. Callum Timmins is with us saying, hello Gav. So hello Callum, and thank you so much for tuning into our live stream on this Sunday evening. Duncan Ward is also with us saying, that was an interesting winter update. Looking forward to the winter forecast. Yes, I think the winter update, the 13th winter update, was definitely quite interesting, Duncan. I think it's thrown a little bit of a spanner in the works, or thrown a bit of a curveball at us with such a strong signal for cold winters following wet Novembers and wet autumns. So we shall see how that in the end factors into the winter forecast in around a week's time, of course. Katrine Baso is with us saying good evening, Gavin, and everyone. So good evening, Katrine. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Sunday evening. I hope you're enjoying the live stream. If everybody can like the live stream as well, give us a thumbs up and let YouTube know that you are enjoying the live stream. That would be absolutely great if everyone can do that. Mark Johnson is with us. Hi Gav, really enjoyed this season of updates, gone so fast this year. Do you think we'll get a sudden stratospheric warming in December? I know models have eased off the idea a touch, but think it could still happen. So yes, that's right, Mark. About around a week ago, the GFS in particular was very keen on a sudden stratospheric warming to take place through the first week of December, around the first week to 10 days or so. But it's backed off from that idea. It's still going for quite a significant warming of the stratosphere. Over Siberia in particular, not really penetrating into the Arctic and North Pole, but it is going for a moderate sort of warming of the stratosphere for the first week of December. It's backed off that idea of a major sudden stratospheric warming for now, though. We do see this, or we did see this last winter, if you remember. It took around 2 or 3 weeks from when the model first started playing with the idea of a sudden stratospheric warming for it actually to happen. So it's something that does happen with the moles, that they sort of play around with the idea for a while, and then they will finally slot into place. So possibly, again, maybe similar to last year, looking towards late December, maybe around Christmas, New Year, that sort of time. But we shall see. It might happen before then. Of course, it might not happen until after then. Southern stratospheric warmings are very, very difficult to predict. All we can say with good confidence, though, is that they tend to happen later in the winter. So the later on you go through the winter, and even sometimes into the spring, the greater the chance that you'll get southern stratospheric warmings. So it is quite unusual to have them early on in the winter. We've got 90 people with us right now, so a big thank you to everybody tuning in on this Sunday afternoon, and of course hello to all of you. Thank you so much for being with us on this Sunday afternoon discussing the 13th Winter 2019-2020 update live. Jack Jarrett has had 1 millimetre of rain today. So, yeah, been very damp and gloomy, hasn't it, Jack? It seems like it's been damp and gloomy for quite a long while now. And here in Northants, it's been kind of like a drizzly, dreary sort of day, typical sort of November weather, really. Mark Kanish is with us saying, evening, Gavin, still having to catch up on all your videos from yesterday. Been out all day. Well, that's absolutely fine, Mark. You catch up at your own time, my friend, and just enjoy the updates. Paul Miller is with us. Hi, Gav. Could the cold snap early December bring snow to the south if it lasts longer? Generally, Paul, the longer a cold spell or cold snap goes on for, the greater the chance that you're going to get some snow out of it. So what tends to happen, I talked about the toppler, I think, in a video 2 or 3 days ago, the famous northerly toppler. What happens there is that you will get a cold front plunging southwards across the country, and a ridge of high pressure pushing up into the North Atlantic with low pressure, usually somewhere around Norway or in the North Sea. And that will turn the wind into the north. So you get a push of northerly winds. But that ridge in the North Atlantic then topples into the UK and the west of Europe in a couple of days, around 1 to 2 days' time. And what happens with that is that you can't really get the cold air down into the south before the feed of cold northern winds is cut off, if you see what I mean. And when that happens, and we had a lot of that in the 1990s, many of the 1990s winters, which were overall, most of them were mild, were a couple of cold ones in 1991 and 95, 96, and again around Christmas New Year of 1996. But most of the 1990s winters were mild, but they did tend to have these northerly topplers where we'd have a cold snap for a day or two, and it would bring snow to Scotland. There's no problem getting snow into Scotland from a northerly wind, of course, particularly northern and eastern Scotland. But down in the south, it does take a little while to get that cold air down, and cold enough sufficiently to start getting snow going. So all I would say is that yes, the longer a cold spell goes on, generally the better the chance that it's going to get cold enough for snow down in the south. But if it's only a day or two, then usually, sometimes something unusual will happen. You'll get a trough or something that will band the showers together as they push southwards. That can happen in a toppler. But usually, if it only lasts a day or two, the south tends not to get all that much snow from those sort of little couple of day cold snaps. Shiram is saying, hello Gavin, think we will get an interesting winter this year. I'm not sure if that's a question, Shiram, or you think that we'll have an interesting winter this year. All I'd say is that I can't really say a great deal about it at the moment because we've got winter forecast to release next week. But certainly the way winter updates have progressed, yes, you would say that there's interesting developments ahead of us. But beyond that, I can't really say a great deal more until we release the forecast next week. Alpha SB is with us saying, hi Gav. So hi Alpha, thank you so much for tuning with us. And Bajaska 74 is saying that they love the winter and Christmas update. So thank you so much, Jessica. That's very, very kind indeed. As I keep saying, as long as people want to see the updates, we're always happy to do them. So thank you so much for that lovely comment. Now got over 100 people watching us. Got 108 people with us right now. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. I see we've had a super chat as well from iTech Talk. So thank you so much for your super chat, iTech. iTech is saying, really love your enthusiasm. Will it be cold soon? Well, thank you so much for the lovely comment. As I say, as long as people are enjoying what we're doing in terms of the videos and the written posts and everything else that we do that's involved with galsworthvids.com and the YouTube channel, everything else, as long as people are enjoying it, we're happy to keep doing it, iTech. But I'm pleased that my enthusiasm comes across, because I love what I'm doing. I love the weather, and that I'm able to bring all of these updates to all of you. So that's really, really kind. Thank you so much for that. In terms of the cold, will it be cold soon? It definitely looks like it's going to get cold in the second half of next week. How long that lasts remains to be seen. Around 5 minutes, we'll go to West Central and we'll have a look at the midday run of the GFS. But again, thank you so much for your super chat, iTech. Right, let's carry on, and we're going to have a look at what we've pulled down to the bottom of the chat. So I have to explain this all the time. I'm reading the chat as you're posting it, and I'm sort of scrolling through it and trying to pick out as many comments and whatnot as I can, but as I'm doing it, it often pulls down to the very last comment, annoyingly, and that means I'm going to scroll back up to try and get myself back to where I was. So if there's a bit of a delay and it sounds like I'm going off into the nether world or whatever, that's the reason. I'm trying to scroll back up madly to where I got to. So we got to Mark Kanish, who was saying, also Gabby, it looks like a cold snap coming end of week. It looks like high pressure is building over Greenland. Could that be interesting for giving us longer cold weather? So Mark, we're going to have a look at West Central in a moment. I don't know what the midday runs are showing. Certainly the suggestion is there that there's going to be some sort of cold snap, kind of like the end of the week, that period, Thursday, Friday into next weekend. I don't know how much is being made of that with the GFS yet, but in around 5 minutes we'll go to West Central and we'll have a look and see what that's showing. Darren Lewis is with us saying, hi Gav. So hi Darren, thank you so much for tuning into our live stream on this Sunday evening. Hope you're enjoying it, and hope you enjoyed that winter update as well. Mike Boyle is with us. Hi Gav, love the winter updates, and I think this winter has real potential to be interesting for the first time in quite a few years. Well, certainly if we were just going by that November data, Mike, and the wet autumns, you would suggest that yes, it does look as though it could be in for a very, very interesting winter. There have been a few things though that haven't been quite as conducive, particularly thinking about the oceans, and I mean conducive to a colder winter. I'm particularly thinking about the oceans. Not sure the Pacific Ocean is all that well set up for us to have a cold winter. I prefer the Pacific to be generally colder than it is, especially in that northeastern part of the Pacific. ENSO neutral, we talked about that last week, so that's rather patchy as well, being at ENSO neutral from a cold perspective. It would be better, I think, to probably have a weak La Nina, a weak cold event. And then we've got the situation in the Atlantic, where rather surprisingly late on, we're beginning to turn the sea surface temperature anomalies colder again in the North Atlantic. So that's not to say we can't have a cold winter this winter, but it is definitely a factor that we have to bear in mind, that the oceans, both the Pacific and, I suppose for us more importantly, the Atlantic Ocean, don't look all that great to deliver us colder conditions. So I think we have to keep our feet on the ground, and we'll see what we come up with for the winter forecast in a week or so's time. But I would say it's not absolutely guaranteed that this is going to be a cold winter. But as I say, I've not seen any data yet, actually. We're going to start getting the data together for the winter forecast within the next day or two. So I'll have a much better idea then when I've been able to see the data and see how strong the signal is for this winter. So we shall see. We've got 117 people with us right now, so thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to our live stream. I think at that point we will pop over to Wetter Central, and we'll have a quick look at what the midday GFS run is showing. I think it should be pretty much out fully by now. So hopefully I've got all this worked out. What we need to do is turn off the image, so that sends the screen blank. And then we enable screen capture. There we go, and that should be screen sharing now. So we're at Wetter Central. This is the midday run of the GFS. So I've zoomed this out a little bit. Hopefully now everybody's able to see it. I know last week the bottom part of the chart was rather cut off, so you couldn't all see what it was showing, but hopefully this is going to be a little bit clearer. I think we need to do a refresh because it's only updated 324 hours. So if I can quickly refresh the page, yes, it's fully out now. So we'll enable hover, enable mouse over, and then we shall have a quick look at what the midday GFS run is showing. So here we go. We're at the Monday 25th of November, tomorrow, and we've got low pressure coming in off the Atlantic. There's going to be more rain to come. There's more rain on the way, and this looks rather ominous actually as we go through to Tuesday. That's bringing some very wet weather in across many parts of England and Wales and Northern Ireland on Tuesday, and some quite strong winds are associated with that area of low pressure as well. So there could be some gale force winds around western and southwestern coasts on Tuesday. That low pressure sort of sitting over top of the country on Wednesday. That will bring further spells of rain, converging to longer spells of rain as well. Then on Thursday, this is a change day towards the cold snap. That low gets out of the way into the North Sea. We've got pressure rising up towards Greenland and Iceland up to 1,020 millibars, and that turns the winds into the north. So this is our cold snap for the end of the week. This will bring colder air down across the country, probably cold enough wintry showers across the northeast and parts of Scotland, maybe northeast England, and I would have thought there's likely to be some quite hard overnight frost with that as well. We're into the end of next week, so this is getting us to Friday and then on into Saturday. We've got a ridge building down through the country. That's going to be a cold ridge, so there will be cold air under that high pressure. That's a classically sort of frosty type scenario by the time you get through to next weekend. Now, I've got this little area of low pressure trying to come in from off the Atlantic. That's a little bit of a troublemaker. That's coming in to cold air, and it is struggling to get in. So I would think that's mainly going to be rain. I don't think the air has got cold enough, certainly in the south, for precipitation on that to be snow. Depending on how far north it gets, though, northern areas might get a little bit of snow out of that. So I wouldn't rule out North Wales, northern England, maybe the North Midlands, possibly some snow with that area of low pressure, if it gets far enough north. That's the big question mark about that low pressure over next weekend. It's going to be a cold weekend next weekend. Just depends how far north that low gets, whether it just brings cold rain to the south, or whether if it gets far enough north to engage the properly cold air and bring snow to more northern parts of the country. By the time you get through to Sunday, a week away, this is the Thursday of December, of course, day we're releasing winter forecast. That low has gone. It's moved off into France. Winds have turned into the northeast, and that's maintaining cold weather then through the course of next weekend, or through to the course of the end of next weekend. We're up to Monday the 2nd. High pressure is toppling in across the country. This is the classic topless scenario that I was talking about earlier on. The high pressure topples and moves down across the country. And then as we start to head up towards day 10, we begin to re-establish a milder southwesterly flow. So as that's a classic toppler. What's happened there is that the cold air has pushed southwards. The high pressure in the North Atlantic has toppled into the UK, carries on toppling down into France, and we start to move milder air in over the top of the ridge. So heading up towards day 10, we're in a milder and Atlantic-driven type flow. Here we go again. We're unleashing the Atlantic at day 10. It's milder, but also wetter, again, particularly for northern areas this time. So it's a little bit more typical of the sort of westerly setup that we tend to expect, with low pressure to the north and high pressure to our south, bringing in westerly winds, which are mild winds, but bring most of the rain to northern and western parts of the country. And then we hit the extended range, and we go rather stormy and cold there on the 6th of December, bringing low pressure in from off the Atlantic. Winds are turning into the northwest. And then in the extended range, we're beginning to turn wind back into the north again. So there's another little cold snap around the 6th and through to the 7th of December. And again, that one could bring winter showers, snow showers to northern and eastern parts of the country. The ridge of high pressure continues to be out to our west. The highs toppling again. And as we go to the end of the GFS run, we're back into quite a stormy and relatively chilly west-northwesterly flow. And you've been keeping up with the Christmas updates. This has been a regular feature within the Christmas updates, actually, from the CFS around the Christmas period. So sort of mid to late December to early to mid-January. Around that period, we have been seeing in many of the Christmas updates the idea of cold zonality, with these cold northwesterly winds. With that kind of scenario, you're going to bring quite a bit of snow into the north, especially over Scottish mountains. That could be the sort of scenario that's very, very good for the Scottish ski resorts. For England and Wales, it tends to be less conducive for snow. You tend to be more on the rain side of marginal down in the south, unless it's a very cold northwesterly wind. And that happens occasionally. Famously, it happened in winter of 1984. January 1984 had a famous outbreak of cold zonality that brought unusually cold air across the Atlantic from Canada, actually, and that did deliver snow into southern parts of the country. But generally, especially this early on in winter, generally that sort of scenario would be more conducive to snow in northern areas and over hills and mountains. But except for a few days here and there, it certainly doesn't look overly mild, does it? It looks rather cool, I would say, over the next few days with that. Just wondering if we should have a look at the GM as well. So let's see if the GM has updated yet. May not have done. So yes, it has. So again, let's enable hover, let's enable mouse over, and we'll just have a very quick look at that. ECM won't be updated until between 6 and 7 o'clock, so that'll be out by 7. We've got, again, the idea of winds going into the northeast at the end of this week, so it's getting colder through the end of the week. Then we have this ridge building down across the country into next weekend. That brings frosty conditions. Notice that low pressure's further south from where the GFS has it. There's a low pressure there, really missing us and going off into northern parts of France. So that will keep us all frosty and cold for next weekend. Moving into extended rain, so again we've got this ridge out to our west up to Monday the 2nd of December. Stays cold, wind remains in from the north. Then the highs beginning to topple down across the country. But unlike what the GFS is showing, that's not shifting down into France. So although the high topples, it just sits over the top of the country. That will maintain cold conditions up to day 10, which is the 4th of December. So up to day 10, the GM is keeping it cold. Whereas the GFS by this point is re-establishing a mild southwesterly flow. That would keep us cold and frosty at about ridge of high pressure. Right, I think that's enough screen sharing. So I'm going to turn that off, and then we'll put the image back up. And then we'll head off back to YouTube and see what you've all been saying about that. Now, I see that we've got 141 people with us right now. So, again, huge thank you to everybody for tuning in on this Sunday afternoon. That really is a phenomenal response to our live stream. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And don't forget to give us a like and let us know that you, or more importantly, I suppose, let YouTube know that you are enjoying our live stream. So thankfully we've kept to where we was in the chat, so I can just carry on moving down. So we've got Mark Johnson with us saying, confirming that yes, he can hear me, so that's great. Thank you so much for that, Mark. We've got iTech asking us, evening Gav, in your next vid, could you show us what models are showing for showing for the signs of a sudden stratospheric warming. So yes, we'll look at that in tomorrow's video, iTech. So I didn't feature that, I don't think, in yesterday's week to 10-day video update. The reason was that the model, the GFS, had backed off the idea quite a bit, and I wanted to bring everybody up to date with what's happening in the tropical Atlantic in terms of tropical storm Sebastian. Very, very late tropical storm. But I will show you that tomorrow. We'll have a good look at what's happening in the stratosphere in terms of a potential sudden stratospheric warming tomorrow. James Henrik is with us saying, hello Gav, is the cold snap in next weekend just still a snap or will it continue? So we've just looked at the GFS, James. It looks as though we're probably going to get a few days of cold weather at the end of this week, over next weekend, just at the start of the following week, so it's around 4th of December, and then it might start to get a little bit less cold then. We've also got, but the GEM's actually keeping the cold weather going right way through to day 10, albeit a frosty and foggy variety of cold. We've also got with us Angie Dainton. Hi Gav, have enjoyed the very informative winter updates. Thank you. With the QBO, quasi-binary oscillation, course transitioning to easterly later this winter and late May tripole. I'm thinking later winter may be cold. What do you think? Well, you're going to find out what I think when I release the forecast, Angie. So I don't want to give anything away. But yes, I think the theory you're channeling there, that the QBO transitioning from its west to east phase and the possible re-emergence of a tripole later in the winter, towards the end of winter, that may back up the idea that later winter is possibly better for cold than earlier winter. But again, I don't want to sort of prejudge anything before I've seen any data, because as I say, we haven't got any of the winter forecast analogs together yet, so I don't know what the data is showing. And as I say, I don't want to prejudge anything, but I do like the way you're thinking there, and certainly that sort of idea of colder later possibly does make sense. So let's see if we scroll down. I've got very behind with the chat doing that screen sharing, so I'm not going to be able to get everybody's comments in. Really, really sorry about that. If there's anything that you desperately want answering, then you can super chat. Otherwise, I'm just going to go through the chat and see how many comments I can pick out. But not everybody's going to be able to be answered, because I have got very, very badly behind while I'll be doing that session of screen sharing. I hope you all enjoy it. I hope you was able to see it okay as well. I know, I say, some of you did find that last week the charts were a bit cut off at the bottom, so hopefully that went okay. We've got Brent Tops with us. Good evening, Gav. Thank you for this amazing winter update season. I really appreciate your hard work. Same is true for the Christmas updates. Well, thank you so much, Brent. That's really, really kind, and as long as everybody wants to see the updates, we're happy to keep doing. The Christmas updates are very, very easy. They're no problem to do whatsoever. You're going to be another Christmas update at 7 o'clock, and they only run for around 10 minutes. I only have to pop over to Metro Seal and get a few charts loaded up, so that's no problem. The winter updates are very, very hard work. Yesterday's update took me around 2 to 3 hours to get together in the evening. Then I had to record it, then I'm going to go through the processing and uploading. So their winter updates are very, very hard work to get together, but very rewarding, because everybody seems to, or most people anyway, I know for one or two people they're a little bit too long, and you know, we also provide the written version of the winter updates, so for anybody that does find the winter updates a little bit too long to watch, there's also the written version provided. But most people seem to enjoy the winter updates, and as long as people enjoy them and want to see them, then I'm very happy to do them. I think this season of winter updates has been the most extensive season of updates that we've ever done, definitely. And there are so many ideas that are contained within these winter updates that hopefully the ideas and the theories and the possibilities will help advance the development of long-range forecasting and the science of long-range forecasting. And who knows, maybe in 50 or 100 years' time, when I'm gone, people will still be able to look at these winter updates, or at least the ideas and the theories that are with them, be able to look at them, and possibly, we might help advance the science of long-range forecasting. That's certainly what I'm hoping for with these winter updates. But thank you so much for that lovely comment, Brent. Nicole Watson is saying, generally, what usually brings more snow, northern blocking or a Scandinavian high? That's a good question, Nicole. So it depends actually where you are in the country. So for Scotland and Northern Ireland, actually a northerly will be better for snow than an easterly. For England anyway, sort of east and southern England, the southeast, east and populated areas of the southeast, easterlies are usually more conducive to snow than northerly. So the Scandinavian high will usually bring more snow to the south of the country than a northerly. Northerlies tend to bring more snow to the north and west. There are exceptions to that, though, thinking about the December to remember in 2010, where the northerly was so cold. Most of that was northerly. So the northerly was so cold and so long-lasting that even down in the south, we got large amounts of snow during that northerly episode, during that northerly outbreak. So there are exceptions to that rule, but generally it's northerly is best for snow for the north and the west, easterly is best for snow for the south and for the east. Places like the Midlands, for example, those sort of areas, they tend to be where things are a little bit better for snow with an easterly. And for Northern Ireland particularly, people in Northern Ireland do miss out on snow a lot of the time with easters, and also with Western Scotland, so sometimes parts of West Wales as well. Right, let's carry on. So we've also got Marty Fellman with us saying, hi, Gav. So good evening, Marty. Thanks so much for tuning in. Brent is asking, I do think this winter is going to be comparable. I do still think this winter is going to be comparable like winter of 2017-18, especially February. But of course, we need to wait and see. So could we have another beast from the east in February, Brent? It will be interesting to see, won't it? Savvy is with us. So good evening, Savvy. Thank you so much for tuning in to our live stream. Philip is with us saying, hi, Gav. Thanks for a brilliant winter update season and for all the hard work. These live streams have been fantastic. A long wait till next September now. Yes, certainly has been a long and hard season of updates, Philip. A lot of hard work, but very, very rewarding. So we are going to have a long wait until September, but don't forget, we've still got the winter forecast to go. So we may have finished the winter updates, but we haven't quite finished yet. We've still got the seasonal model roundup to do on Saturday, and then the winter forecast itself, which of course I suppose it's like the highlight of everything, isn't it? It's what it's all been building up to. So we're still going to reach the peak actually, which will be the winter forecast. Still going to get to the crescendo, and that will be next Sunday. And then of course we will have quite a wait till the winter updates begin again next year in September. But between then, from the new year through to September, we'll bring back Gazworthy's Sunday Roundup. So I know quite a few people enjoy the Sunday Roundups. They'll be back from the new year. John Donahoe is with us. Interesting ECM tonight, I think, Gav. So it's not quite updated. It hasn't started updated yet, Sean. It will be updating between 5 and 6 o'clock this evening. So that'll be interesting to see what that's shown. We'll be wrapping this up at 5 o'clock, by the way. So at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I should say. Been a very, very long day with all of these updates, so sorry about that little slip. No, we'll be wrapping this up at 6 o'clock, and I'll get a bit of tea then and then write up written version of the winter forecast. So if anybody's waiting for the written version of the winter update. I should say that will be with you at 6 o'clock this evening. Still got 129 people with us, and we've been talking for 40 minutes. So big thank you to everybody for tuning in on this Sunday evening. Don't forget to smash the like button and let us know that you are enjoying it. Callum is asking, hello Gav, what causes high pressure to weaken over Greenland, and are there any signs of heights increasing? So that's just typically down to the time of year, Callum, and the fact that we have the polar vortex over Greenland and over the Arctic. So at this time of year, very, very cold, both in the stratosphere and down on the surface over the Arctic. And then right next door to that, we've got a relatively warm ocean. I've got the jet stream racing across the Atlantic Ocean out of America. And it all combines to, this time of year, to mean that we have the polar vortex, which is what drives in westerly winds. That polar vortex tends to set up shop over Greenland and then back into the Arctic. So it's purely down to the time of the year and the place of the Earth that we're talking about. Innocent Ferret saying, brilliant update. The horseshoe is, that's a horseshoe shape of cold, of course, that's beginning to re-emerge in the North Atlantic. For anybody who hasn't seen Winter Update yet, we talked about that in the 13th Winter Update. Similar to what we had last year in 2018, we had that horseshoe shape of cold in the North Atlantic last year. But we just saw the first signs that could be starting to re-emerge when we did the 13th Winter Update. So Innocent Ferret is saying the horseshoe is a bit worrying, but then again, the horseshoe was there at the start of May and then began to disappear, so we went into like tripole. Maybe the same thing will happen during December. Yes, it'll be interesting to see how those sea surface temperature anomalies develop, I think, over the next few weeks in September, and we won't know how that's going to play out until we actually see how the sea surface temperature anomalies are developing. So that's a bit of an unknown about this winter. We've had a super chat from Jaris. So thank you so much, Jaris, for your super chat. Jaris993. That's really, really kind of you to give us this super chat. Jaris is saying, hey Gav, I see you are very busy. Do you have a job, or what have you been doing before YouTube? So I'm fully on Gav's Weathervids at the moment. When I was younger, I did a bit of this and that, and helped with the family business. Of course, people may remember that my dad passed away a few years ago. I used to help with the family business a few years back, but now I'm full-time with Gav's Weathervids. It has become a full-time job, can you believe? I never expected that would happen, actually. I never expected that it would develop and grow as it has done. So when I started off with Gav's Weathervids, it's just a little personal project. And, I never expected that it would develop and grow into a website and into a YouTube channel and into all of the social media accounts and all of that kind of stuff. I never expected it would get as large as it has done. But I'm full-time with Gav's Weathervids, Jaris, and it does take up a lot of my time, I have to say, particularly at this time of the year. Thank you so much for your lovely comment, your lovely question, and for your super chat as well. That's really, really kind of you. My friend, sorry about that, everybody. Just been a bit distracted. That's really, really kind. Thank you so much for that. Right, let's have a look at one or two more. So, we've got Mr. Burns with us. Hi, Gav. The weather has been very gloomy recently. Do you think this is the dullest autumn on record? Will we see some sunshine soon? Yes, it has been very, very gloomy, hasn't it, Mr. Burns? And today here, it's barely got light all day, and that's been the case over the past few days as well. It does seem to be a very, very gloomy few weeks. I'm not sure the autumn itself has been tremendously gloomy. I think, particularly September, actually, I remember that being rather a bright month, rather a sunny month. But certainly in the past few weeks, the doom and gloom has descended along with the rainfall as well. Savvy is hoping it's going to be cold, so I think a lot of people would agree with you on that one, Savvy. Chris Newman is with us, so good evening. Yeah, phenomenal 13th winter update. Of all your methodology, is there one specific driver that you place greater importance on when looking into making your winter forecast? That's a good question, Chris. Actually, no, I don't think there is one particular thing that's more important than anything else. I think it remains the case of a combination of factors, actually. So I'd like to use the analogy of baking a cake, really. When you're baking a cake, you know, you've got to put the flour in, you've got to put the eggs in, you've got to put the sugar in. If you're doing a fruit cake, then you've got to put your raisins and your sultanas and your currants in as well. And out of all of those, I suppose the most important would probably be the flour and the eggs, because that's what binds it all together. But I mean, if you was to leave one thing out, then the whole thing could just collapse into a mess. I think the analogy is pretty similar to what we're doing here with these winter updates, with winter forecasts, actually, in that I think some drivers are perhaps a little bit more important than others, like ENSO is a very significant driver when it becomes strong. So, for example, if you have a Super Nino, then, as I've explained in other videos, that Super Nino will have the power to override pretty much everything. Have the power to override anything else that's going on, and it will become, you know, a very, very significant driving factor. So, yes, there are one or two things that I suppose do or can sometimes become more important, but generally, I would say I'd like to take a multidisciplinary approach to this and keep all of the factors together, if you see what I mean. That's a really great question. JRP Romeo, are we going to have any prolonged high pressure in December? Fed up with this constant low pressure rubbish. Well, that's fighting talk, JRP. That's certainly fighting talk, isn't it? It has been very, very wet. I mean, it's been a real deluge, but yes, we established when we looked at the charts at the GFS, we might, you made me laugh there, JRP. Thank you for that. We have got some higher pressure coming in the next week or so. How long it lasts, we're unsure. It looks like we might get back into zonal westerlies quite quickly, but we're certainly going to have a little bit of a break, I think, around the turn of the month, and it will go a bit cold as well. I've got so far behind with the chat, and I'm really sorry about that, everybody. So let's just see if we can scroll back. I've gone down to the beginning of the gone down to the end of the chat. So I've got so far behind, man. Big thanks to everybody for getting involved in this live stream. That's really, really kind, everybody, to be doing that. So let's see if we can get back to where we was. I'm going to have to wrap this up in around 10 minutes because I've got to get the written version of the 13th winter update written up for anybody who can't watch that. So I'll be wrapping this up in around 10 minutes time, but we will endeavour to take one or two more of your comments. I'm struggling to find where I got to because there's just been so much interest in this. It's absolutely incredible the way you have all got involved with this live stream. And I'm just sorry, but I'm not going to be able to answer everybody's questions. I always feel really, really bad that people get left out when we've gone to the trouble of posting and asking questions and getting involved. So I'm just sorry to anybody who gets missed out. There will be a lot of people, I'm afraid, getting missed out this time because it's just been so very busy. Andrew Price is asking, high gap polar vortex looks further east than usual. High pressure keeps pushing up to Greenham. Could it be a form of high later in the year next year? So, yes, I think we are seeing signs that the polar vortex might be a little bit displaced. It's been generally quite a weak polar vortex as well that we've had this year. We're still at 118 people with us, by the way. So thank you, everybody, for the response. I'm going to scroll down and see if I can get one or two more in. Michelle Down, the GFS model yesterday looked really interesting for around the 8th of December. Excuse me, for a cold winter. I really just want my daughter to have the chance to use her sledge. So, well, hopefully we'll be able to get some snow for you and for your daughter, Michelle. It would be really nice if we could, wouldn't it? But there's no, I don't know where you are. So if you're up in the north, then of course you've got a better chance of getting some snow. But if you're down in the south, then there's no sign of any snow weather in the next week to 10 days, I don't think. Famous last words. But hopefully we'll be able to get some snow for you both very soon. Shiram, hello Gavin, noticed the late 2010 run of cold winters had cold water over Alaska in November. So yes, one of the things that I like to see is the Pacific in a generally colder state with the Pacific Ocean. You don't want it too cold in the Ainso region. A strong landing is usually curtains for a cold winter actually. When we have a sort of a weak landing in the Pacific, along with like a cold sea surface temperature on the northern Pacific, that can be something that helps us to have a colder winter over in Europe for some reason. When the Pacific Ocean is in a warm state, as it is now, it's not a tremendously good signal for a cold winter, but there are always exceptions, of course. Let's see if I can scroll down. Again, I'm so sorry to everybody who's got involved in this. I'm going to have to miss you all out because it's just been so incredibly busy. I've not been able to keep up with it. So I'm just really, really sorry to everybody who gets missed out with their comment and with their questions. Christopher Armes is asking, what's your own personal opinion on the warming of the, I think that's the stratosphere? Do you think it'll make sun stratospheric warming levels, and do you think it'll split the vortex? If not, does this warming make a proper SSW more likely later? So we talked about this a little bit earlier in the live stream. Sometimes it takes a couple of goes to get to a sun stratospheric warming. I think that happened last winter before we did get to the major warming of the stratosphere around Christmas and New Year. So, yes, I would say that if we have like a moderate warming, which it appears that's the way the modelling is going at the moment, if we have a moderate warming through early December, that may sort of prime the atmosphere, I suppose, prime the stratosphere for something more significant to happen later. Possibly we could be looking at Christmas to New Year again for a sudden stratospheric warming, possibly. We've got 3,000%. You do a great job, Gav. Well, thank you so much, 3,000%. That's really, really kind. City Andy, hi Gavin. What winter updates this year? Do you think the cold snap will turn into a cold spell? So we looked at the GFS a little while ago. Andy probably posted this before we looked at that, actually, as I got so far behind. It looks as though we're going to have around 3-4 days of colder weather, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe to Monday, and then after that probably going a little bit milder, but the GEM was keeping things cold right way up to day 10. Paul Miller, thanks for all your hard work. Yeah, thank you so much, Paul. That's really, really kind, and thank you so much for that. So if we have a look at one or two more, let's see. We've also got Mr. Burns saying, do you think the long-range models or the analogues are more important when it comes to winter forecast? I would think that the analogues and the overall methodology is more important than the seasonal forecast, Mr. Burns, because there is such a large margin of error with long-range forecasting models. Although they are better when it comes to forecasting long-range with these models than they were like 5-10 years ago. Even with that said, they are very, very unreliable. But beyond like 10 days, the reliability of these long-range models does crash a lot. So I would put more emphasis on the GASMO's winter forecast methodology and less on the long-range models. But having said that, the long-range models do have their role to play. Right, let's see if we can find one or two more. So I'm going to wrap this up at 6 o'clock, get some bit of tea, and then write up the, what will I be writing up? I'm writing up the written version of the 13th winter update. It's been a very, very, very long day indeed. Another super chat from Jaris, so thank you so much for that, Jaris. That's really, really kind, my friend, saying best of luck in the future. Well, thank you so much, and again, thank you so much for your super chats. That's really, really kind. I just hope you've been enjoying this live stream and these winter updates too. Urki is asking, it seems that the winds keep to be weak in the stratosphere, but in troposphere, LEO and AO both show zonal is getting stronger. I think this makes models go into turmoil and will change soon. So yes, we've had this disconnect between what's happening in the stratosphere and what's happening in the troposphere, haven't we? And now, of course, what's happened in the troposphere is that had a relatively weak polar vortex and zonal signal compared to what you would expect in the stratosphere has had a strong zone of wind. It's also been cold average. So that sort of disconnect is still there. But it looks like it's going in the other direction now. So it looks like the troposphere is becoming more set up for westerlies than for a strengthened polar vortex, whereas the stratosphere is beginning to back off that signal a little bit. If it's not one thing, it's another. Tim Everett is with us saying, totally different feel to this coming winter compared to last. Looking forward to seeing where it goes, but cooler than average would seem to be more possible than warmer than average. So you're going to find out, Tim, in a week's time what we're thinking. Definitely has been a colder autumn, though, hasn't it? It's been a very wet autumn, a very miserable autumn, but the temperature's also been lower as well. So, yeah, we're just going to have to wait and see, but definitely, I think we'll probably have to go back to 2012 for the last time we had such a wet but also such a cool temperature. So we have to go back quite a long way in the autumn, and that definitely gives us a different feel, doesn't it, as we move into the start of this winter. Right, let's see if we can do one or two more, and then I think you'll have to wrap it up at around 6 o'clock. So Adam Lister is saying, the winter updates have been outstanding this year. Really appreciate the hard work put into them. Something to enjoy on a Sunday morning. Well, thank you so much, Adam. That's really, really kind. Everybody's very, very kind to me about not just the winter updates, but about all of the updates that we do. Actually, I have a lovely audience, and it's just great that you are all enjoying these updates that we're doing. So thank you so much for that. That's really kind. Marty Fellman is saying, who should play Gav in Gav's Weather the movie? Personally, I think it's got to be Idris Elba. Well, I'm not sure about that, Marty. I don't think I'm as tall as Idris, actually. But I don't know. Who should play Gav in Gav's Weather the movie? I shall leave that to the audience to ponder when we wrap up the live stream. You have made me laugh with this live stream today. Thank you very much, everybody. We've got Danny Fletcher saying, hi Gav, thanks for your great work in your latest winter update. Really appreciate what you do. Think about December. How would our general weather pattern in the first month of our meteorological winter? So I'm not sure what you're asking there, Danny. So you're saying, hi Gav, thanks for your great work in your latest winter update. Really appreciate what you do. What you do. What you think about December? How would our general weather pattern in the first month of meteorological winter? So I think you're asking what the general setup be in December then, Danny. So I suppose the general setup for early winter would be a continuation of the autumn pattern, which would typically be rather westerly, rather wet and windy and zonal. So I think that tend to be where we start in most winters, and then as the winter progresses, the chance of something a little bit colder and more block perhaps increases later on in the winter. But in December, typically we associate December being a rather mild, wet and windy type month. Let's see if we can have a look one or two more. So we've got Dave Gammon. Hi Gav, do some of the most severe snow and cold events come from polar lows, which are pretty much unforecastable? Certainly in terms of snow events, yes, that's correct, Dave. So a lot of snow events will occur from not necessarily actually a polar low, just kind of like from a trough, banding snow showers together and driving them southwards. I'm not sure that a cold event as such will be driven by a polar low. A polar low would tend to be more associated with like the overall pattern that you get within a prolonged cold outbreak. So if you think back to the December to remember 2010, the main issue with that, the main driver of that December was Greenland blocking, was high pressure over Greenland, and polar lows were then a feature within that very cold outbreak in December 2010 due to that pattern. But polar lows themselves won't necessarily cause a prolonged cold spell. They will be kind of like the result of a prolonged cold spell. But they are sometimes quite important for driving snow down across the country. I think that's pretty much all we've got time for. So again, I'm just so sorry to everybody that I've had to miss out with this live stream. So, I mean, it's just a phenomenal response. I've had to miss out so many questions. This is by far the biggest response that we've ever had. We're down to 98 people watching now still. We're talking for an hour. So, again, just thank you so much, everybody, for sticking with it. And for getting involved in the chat and for asking all of your questions. So, again, big thank you to all of you for doing that. We will have another live stream next week. And that'll probably be the last one for a little while, because after that I'll be ready to have a little bit of a break, I think, after all of the mayhem of the winter updates. We may do, probably not scheduled live streams, but it's something interesting that's happened during December in terms of snow, or snow events, something like that, maybe a cold Christmas then. I definitely wouldn't rule out the chance of a live stream then. But the final scheduled live stream, if you like, for the time being, will be next weekend to go with the winter forecast. So in 1 week's time, you're going to find out what we're predicting for this winter of 2019-2020. It's what all of these winter updates have been building up to, and you've only got a week now until you find out what we're forecasting. So not long to go at all until the winter forecast is released. In the coming days, the week 10-day video updates, I think, will be focusing again on what's happening in the stratosphere. That will form part of the week 10-day video updates that we've got coming up in the next few days. And I'm sure that also we'll be talking about the potential for a cold snap at the end of this week and into next week, seeing how long that can last. We've got Christmas updates galore coming up as well. The next one of those is going to be releasing just an hour, actually, to 7 o'clock this evening. And of course, if you're waiting for the written version of the 13th winter update, that will be posted on Gazworthies probably around 8 o'clock this evening. So plenty going on, and I just hope that everybody continues to enjoy the output that we're going to be producing in the next few days. Right, I'm going to end the live stream there. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to this live stream, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. Bye for now.